Good morning, Kathy here from kathyskutekreations. Today is week 4, and now we're going to assemble our blocks, and you should have this sheet downloaded. Now, you do know that you do not have to follow this exact pattern if you don't want to. Alright, let's get started and let me show you what we got in the way of fabric. So, this is the binding fabric, and you're going to set this aside. I've already got it cut, but I'm going to set it aside because I'm not putting the binding on it. That's what you do last, or you give it to the person that's going to do it for you. So you will have fabric I. This is 2.5, and you're going to have 5 strips. This is going to go on the final border before you sandwich it together. This is 4 of 1 1/5. It looks like 1 1/5. I don't know why it does it look like 1 1/5. 1.5 inches. And we're going to put this around it when we get finished piecing it together. So first off, go ahead and lay yours out. I'm going to lay mine out here on the other side of the table because I don't have enough room. So I have them all laid out. They are not pinned. We are going to pin them. And then keep in mind that you're going to be matching up right here on each one. So all I'm going to do is pin 2 at a time. So I'm going to pin these first 2. This is the way I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to pin these 2 here. So now this is what it looks like. Then after I'm done with these 2 and these 2, I'm going to combine these 2 and then attach this one to that. Then I'm going to have one entire row finished. So I went ahead and I changed out my bobbin because I know that it's not going to be enough to do this. Of course, I've dropped it on the floor. Can't find it because, you know, underneath my sewing table here, I've got 2 dog beds and a whole bunch of stored stuff. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that Lainey, which is the little Yorkie down there, she's going to end up finding it and chew it because she found another bobbin one time and chewed the dickens out of it. She doesn't bring anything when she finds it. She'll just chew it. But I already know that it's safe enough. She won't eat it. Now, the Josie, which was my Doberman, whenever she got something, she always brought it to you. And then when she brought it to you, oh, hold on one second. I need to mark this intersection because I do not want to lose my points. So hold on one second while I look at something. And this is what I'm going to do. Let me show you. Let me repin it. Alright, let me get a friction pin so I can show y'all what I'm going to do. Let's see if you can see this. Okay, see the section here? Oops, it flipped out of the screen. Let me back it up a minute here. Right here is what I'm trying to show you. Right there, I'm going to mark that section right there. Alright, see where I've marked it? I'm going to stay right on that line, and then I'm going to sew on this side. Now, I started on this side, and then as soon as I reached that intersection, I realized I needed to flip it because I can't see it. So I turned it over. Now, you can sew on either side. So I'm going to sew on this side just enough from here to catch that, then flip it back over and sew again. Then I'll know I've gone over the correct area. You can always flip back and forth whenever you're sewing. Nothing says you've got to sew on only one side. Otherwise, you're going to be sewing blind when it comes to going across this intersection, which you need to avoid cutting off your tips. So now I'm going to take a look at it, and it looks good. So now I'm going to flip my fabric back over, and then just to double, which is what I'm going to do on that intersection. So I'm starting on this left-hand side. I'm going to come over it again because now I've already done a line. So just re-sewing is all I'm doing. And then continue. And let's see, and I've got this intersection, which I can see. Every time you can't see one, you can do what I just did. Remember now, the friction pin is the one that comes off when you put the iron to it. I'm going to take a look at it. And let me show you what I've got here. Here's the intersection I was talking to you about that I marked. And here's the other intersection. So they both met, they're both fine. So let's do the next one. I'm going to mark it ahead of time. Now this time I have my intersection marked, but I'm actually sewing on that side of the fabric. You can sew on either side. I just didn't realize until I got down there that I had to do that. Because you know, this first one here, even though you mashed it up, it's not as if it's going to cut anything off. That's why a lot of people don't like to make half square triangles. They don't like to make flying geese. But it all just takes practice. That's why there's so many tools out there. I'm going to have to show you that new flying geese tool that I got in one of my swaps. And I'm not trying to promote a bunch of tools. The thing that I'm trying to let you know is there is a lot of stuff out there. And it's not like you've got to buy everything. Just buy whatever you need that's going to help you sew. Now all I'm doing is parking these over here on the ironing board. So I'm going to take this one I just finished to this one here. Pin this side. First thing I did was pinned it, and now I'll mark it. And I'm just coming right above the line. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and finish pinning it. And now we're going to sew this together. So this is my one piece and my two pieces together. Now remember, we're sewing all of this 1/4 inch. And our length is 2.5 or whatever your machine that you're comfortable with using. You can use a smaller stitch if you want. I just find that a smaller stitch actually is harder for me to rip out. And I do rip things out. I'm definitely not perfect when it comes to sewing. Just careful on those bumps. We'll take a look at this. Remember, I call this the houses, although it isn't. So I make sure they're all going the right direction, because this is where you can get yourself really messed up and put it upside down. And now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to connect it to this. Now, if you find that when you get ready to connect something, for example, I've noticed that when I go to connect the very top up here, these two here, that they're actually going the same direction. So choose which one you want to turn the other way. And I'll show you here. Just a second. All right, here's what I was talking about. So this one is going upward. Ouch. That one's going upward towards the tip here. See, this is folded towards the tip. This is folded towards the tip. Well, they need to be split up. And they need to be going opposite directions. So I've either got to turn this one that way or turn this one that way. So it's your call what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and do it with this darker. And it only needs to be done up here at the top. It doesn't need to be done all the way down. So now when I do it, I can nestle these a lot easier. I think this pin's about had it here. And then make sure when you come down to the corner, when you pin this, make sure that this piece here, which is your right side, and this is what I do, is I want to make sure my right side is even before I put my pin on this top right-hand corner. The reason being, if that is crooked, then your block itself is going to be skewed, because what you're trying to do is keep the grain line straight while you sew across here. If the grain line, instead of going straight like this, is going like that, just a little bit, this whole block will want to have a tendency to go to the left, which creates your puckers, your rolls, and all the kind of things you see in quilts. Okay, so I went back and I looked at my video that I'm doing here, and I realized that when I was talking about my Doberman Josie, that I discovered that I hadn't marked something. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and finish telling you about that. So when she got something in her mouth, for example, and I'm gonna make this up. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm gonna make it up because it did happen. But somehow a top on a bottle, like a, you know, like a soda bottle, 2-liter bottle, somehow that cap got on the floor. So it probably missed the trash can. So she picked it up, put it in her mouth. She comes over to you. Now this is the way she was. I don't know why she was like this. I mean, I got her as a puppy, so somehow she just did this on her own. So she'd come over and she'd stand in front of you and just stand there and look at you, and you'd be going, what the heck is that dog looking at me for? So you'd notice, you know, if you stared at her long enough, she never opened her mouth. It was shut. Now, not tight or anything. It just looked normal, like it was shut. So then you'd put your hand on her mouth and you say open, and she'd open her mouth, and there, right on her tongue, was the bottle cap. It doesn't make any difference what she picked up. That's what she used to do. I don't know what possessed her to do that. She knew she wasn't supposed to have it. And I guess that's what it was, is that she knew it didn't belong to her, and she was trying to bring it to you. But it was comical sometimes because, I mean, that dog picked up the darndest things. She's picked up a opened safety pin before. Now, she didn't hurt herself. She was like super duper gentle with it. But I don't know why she got like that. And I don't know how she knew things that weren't hers, but she definitely knew when it didn't belong to her. She was so comical at times. I have it set right here on the ironing board. Hopefully you can see it. And I want you to go ahead and repeat what we just did with the next set of hearts. Alrighty, here's my 2 sets of hearts, as you can see, on the ironing board. And now we're going to start with the next row. Okay, so now when it comes to putting these together, I take my O's, split it in half. I press the intersection up here with my thumb and index finger. So I've marked the halfway point on this block. Then what I do is I take it and I'm going to pin it in the middle, right here. Then I'm going to pin the left side. Then I'm going to pin the right side. So it's all lined up for starters. And now, each one of these on both sides have got intersections. So the easiest way to do this, and it'll take less time, is I go to the intersection, I put it down so that I can actually see where I need to cross over. I go ahead and I pin it. I'm going to do it over here also. I'll show you here as soon as I get it pinned so you can see what I'm talking about. Now that's on one side. See? Gonna have to mark that. Gonna need to mark this. And I'm marking it because I have to go on that line, or I gotta stay above that line. Now that's 2 on one side. Then I gotta flip it over. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to mark that one. And I'm going to mark this one. And I'm going to put a pin in it. Pull it down and make sure it's on my fabric. There's one. And there's the other. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew my intersections first. on both sides. So I'm going to sew from the top up here, down past it, from the top up here, down past it, flip the fabric over, go to this side and catch this one now. So from the top to the bottom, top to the bottom. Then I've got the intersection. I don't have to worry about them. I can see the thread and everything. So then I can just start on one side because I'll have those pins gone, and then just slowly sew from one side to the other. And then all I've done is reinforced everywhere that I have an intersection. Is pair them up into twos and sew them. So you'll have an X and an O, X and an O, X and an O, X and an O. And then we'll just flip one row over. So we have O, X, O, X, and then X, O, X, O. I have them all marked. I'm going to do the first one here. Now, even if you go a little high because you're worried about your line, remember when you come back, you can go ahead and go below it a little bit. So go across that line. That's the first one. Cut it. Go to the next one. I'm going to put my down right there. And you can always do this in a basting stitch if you're not sure. Also, it doesn't need to be in your normal stitch that you're going to be using to sew, just in case you feel like you've got to take it out. It's easier to take out a large stitch than a small stitch. That's the two on that side, and I'm going to flip it over. Come down here to this one. I must have done something with my presser foot. It was telling me. I don't know what I did, but let's pull that pin out a little bit. There we go. Let's take that out. I must have bumped it. And then remember, if you did put your sewing machine on a larger stitch to go through this, then go ahead and back it down now that you're going down it. Or if you're going to want to do that in a basting stitch, the whole entire thing, first time around, you can do that also. Let's see if I can straighten out my stitch a little bit here, because I tell you, when you have to go through all that thick fabric, it is hard to do it. I feel like I'm going a wiggle worm here. A mess underneath that one for some reason. I hope my bobbin's not acting up. Let's take a look at it. Alrighty, and it looks pretty nice. Let me So here it is when it's sewn together. Okay, hopefully you have already done your sets. Now this is the two pairs connected, and what I'm going to show you this time, this is the side that I'm not going to be sewing on. So instead of marking this side, this is another way to do this if you want to just do it on one side. You're going to take your fabric. Now it is matching up. Hopefully my thumb's not going to be in the way. You're going to take your pin and you're going to put it in the intersection of the two threads coming across. I did this once and then I went ahead and I went back and looked at my film, and sure enough it was gone. So I don't know what happened to it. So this is what you're going to do. You stick it in there like that. Push it all the way in, and now it is straight in. And here it is. And then what you do is you take the pin and lay it down like that so that you don't get stuck by it, because that's my thing, is getting stuck by a pin. take your marker, your friction pen, pencil, whatever you use, and you're going to mark on the side of the line closest to the fabric, right here, this fabric, the edge. Ouch, see, I just stuck myself, darn it. Okay, so you're going to mark it. Then you take your pen out, flip it over, and now you're marking your fabric, just like this. I'm going to turn the whole thing over here. I'm going to redo my little mark here so it's more straight than, okay? And that's what you're going to do. Then you're going to go over to the other side, because see, ouch, oh my gosh. All right, here's the one that you can see. So just mark it. Here's the one you can see. Just mark it. So you know you won't go over your spot there. And then here's the other one. Flip it over and do the same thing. This is me trying not to get stuck the next time around. But I tell you, pens do not like me. Okay, there we go. And that's it. Right, I lost my last video. I don't know what's going on. I'm glad I'm checking this constantly today. So now would be the time to get your directions out, because now what we're going to do, because we have all the rows done, is we're going to be doing these strips right here. Now, I'm going to be showing you how to do them. And I'm laying it out on the table over there because it's easier, and I like a hard surface to do my pinning. Okay, I know this is a weird angle, but I'm trying to show you what I've done, and I don't have my light replaced, so I can't even put more light on here, but this is the middle square heart. I took my fabric, let's see if I can, and I ironed it. You can see a little crease right there. And I took my strip, and since these words are going up, I wanted my strip words to go up, and I'm putting it in the middle here. And this is the way that I'm pinning this. Now, I went ahead and I pinned it on both sides. So I'm going to pin it here. And then what I'm doing is I've already ironed the hearts and the fabric. So I am pushing it to the right as I add a pin. Because this strip is bigger, or longer, let's put it, than the row is going to be. So to avoid the waviness, you don't want to make the strip too tight, but you don't want to make the strip too loose either. Okay? So I'm pulling a little bit on the bottom row, just a little bit, and then a little bit on this strip here. Because this is all bias. It's all going to give. You don't want any of it to give. If you've got to get more pins on here than you normally would, then do that. I'm taking a risk because, you know, all these pins are going to want to stab me. So I'm going from the right to the left, from the left to the right. It doesn't make any difference. And I'm putting a pin in here. And if I feel like I need more pins, I'll put more pins. But that's all I'm doing, all the way along here. So this strip, and I'm going to show you here. Right here, this has already been done. And now I'm working on this part. This is the part I've showed you. But this strip is longer than your row is, which is fine. That's why I folded it in the middle. But be sure and iron it so that it is straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach it to these. Now you don't have to do that. You could attach one to this and then attach the next one to your row of X's and O's if you want. But I would prefer to do these two on each hearts and then put the rows in the middle. That's just the way that I'm going to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it either way you want. Here's what I've had to do. So first off, I showed you where I was connecting all of this to the fabric. Then I realized I'll be chopping all my points off because I won't be able to see them. I had to sit down here and take them all apart. But instead of taking them just apart, what I did is I went ahead and while they were already pinned, for example, it was pinned like this. I'm going to show you here, just for an example. So it started out and it was like that, and I was going to sew it. Then I thought, well, shoot, I got to see those points. So all I did was took my pin, went like this, and then pinned it. took my next pin, held onto it, and repinned it. So then it ended up right sides together and I could pin it. So I did the both sides. So as you can see right here, it's all pinned and it's right sides together. And then when I went ahead and I sewed this one side, let me flip it over here so y'all can see it. I checked it out and made sure that I had not taken any tips off. So that was perfect. So that is what I'm doing now, just sewing this side. And then I'll be done with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and do it to the other row of hearts. So I'll put the strips on that, just like I did on this one. So while you're sewing this, don't be scared to go ahead and start on this fabric before you actually get to this fabric here, to your main fabric. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this side just like I did that one. I'll check them both before I go on. And then I'm going to show you how to cut the ends off. Alright, so I'm going to show you how I cut these, I call them tails, off. You want to put it wrong sides facing up so that you can see both of these pieces of fabric. I put my ruler along the fabric and then I take it off like that. And it's better if you end up leaving a little piece of this, that's fine. But the reason you do it this way is normally, a lot of times, people end up cutting it at an angle if they don't see both sides of the fabric. So you want to make sure you see both sides of the fabric, come to the edge of this piece of fabric here, and then you want to cut. And then you can take it to the ironing board and iron it. There you go, just like that. And I'm going to do the other piece also, right here. There you go. And then you can iron that open also. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put the next two rows together before I attach these. I have this pinned the second way that I showed you how to pin. And I went ahead and I marked them all. And I'm just going really nice and slow because it's a lot of bumps. And I'll pull my pin out right before I reach it. And then when I'm done, if I've got to go back and check it, I will. And fix it. And make it closer, because I'm making sure that I'm not too close. rather go closer than further away. Sometimes you just gotta kind of push your finger on the bump, which is what I do to get it to line up. You want to make sure that your pins, the heads, clear when it comes up against the foot, because if it doesn't, that'll hang up your fabric also. And be careful with all these pins, because this thing is literally in your lap. At least mine is. I don't know about y'all's, but mine is definitely. As I get closer to this, I can already tell, because it's got such a bump on it, that it's going to have to go slow and easy. And then I'm going to push my fabric with my finger up against the foot. There we go, to get it to work. You know, you can always take it and adjust it when you're done, because I've done that a couple of times. All right, here we go. And of course, you don't want this pulling off of your lap. You want it enough that it's loose but not pulling. That's what happened with quilts, is that they pull when they're on your lap. And sometimes the pin will keep them from going also. And then in this case, when the bottom fabric pulls out a little bit, you can actually tug it from the bottom and pull on it. I hope I didn't miss one. I don't have a mark or anything on that. If I did, I'm going to know it soon enough. There we go. Here comes a big bump. Take a look at it, see if you like it and that you can live with it. If you can, you're finished. If you can't, go back and fix whatever you need fixed. I went ahead and I pinned this whole thing, and then I laid it out on the table. I've got it all marked. And I'm going to do the other side the same way. Now the first thing I did, I'm going to fold it over here for you so you can see it, is I folded it in half. I took the hearts, which has this fabric right here on it. I folded it in half, and then after I folded it in half, I went ahead and I pinned it. Then I folded it in half again, so they're in quarters. So it's half and half. And then I pinned from the outside in, and then from the left in. Now remember, I have a pin in the middle. And then I went back over here and started on the next square and went to the middle, started on the next one. I mean, not the middle, I'm sorry. Went to the one before the middle. This is the middle one over here. This is number 2. Let me back it up a little bit so you can see. So after I pinned this, I went to the opposite side and pinned that. And then I stopped when I got to that one. So I'm doing one square at a time, but what I'm doing is I'm going from right to left to right to left, all the way until I ended up in the middle, and then I pinned the middle one. This way I distributed the quilt outside between here, these two things right here, this fabric and that fabric. This way I made sure it was even, because if you start at one end and you pin it to the other end, you're either going to have too much or not enough. At least that's what happens every time I do it. So I quit doing it that way. It's easier to go from right to left, and just pin a little bit each time, and then you can make it work. So now I'm going to do the other side. I'll show you what I did. Here's my middle. Then I folded it in. So there's the right-hand side. And here's the left-hand side. So I start right here and I pin on this corner. And this is how I do it. So that's the first thing I do. And I'm going to pin just these two for starters, just to get me started. Then I'm going to go over to the left. I don't know how well this is going to work, to be truthful with you. Let me see here. Get it in the camera for you. Okay. Alright, so all I've got is the beginning of it. Now, let me go back over here to this side. Now, I can't do a high enough shot. Let's see. Okay, so see, this is the middle right here. So then I'm taking this and I'm putting it in the middle. Now I'm going to go over to the right side, and you can see kind of what it looks like here. So you're going to take it, line it up a little bit, and then I'm going to put it in this fourth corner, or not fourth corner, I'm sorry, the second pin that I've got, because I quartered them, remember? Now see how this looks like it's more? So what you're going to do, let me see if I got it. Okay, so even though it looks like I've got more fabric here on the top, what I'm going to do is pull it a little bit so that I can pull it taut, and then I'm going to put my pin in here. Make sure it's taut a little bit. Put a pin in here. Because remember now, it's going to feed it in there. And then one here. Then I go all the way over here to the left, which I'll just pull my fabric over and show you. And I'm looking at between this and this. But you're looking at the middle also. So let me see. You can see the left here where you got to pull it like this so that it fits, and I work myself over here, and then what I'll do is I'll take my pin and move it over here. Now this is the way I do it. You don't have to do it this way. You do it whatever you're comfortable with. And then what I do is make sure that the left side fits in the fabric, and I'll put my pins in here. So I go like this, because that one needs to go that way. And you can feel it when you're doing this, because you'll know. When you do this, you'll know how much you can pull and how much you can't. And then we got this one here. And then I'll put one in between it. And one in between here. And then I'll go back on my right side and I will do it again. I'll go over here and I'm going between these two pins right here. Let me see if I can back down a little bit. These two pins right here. Because I want to make sure that this gets taut in there. And then I'll always put an extra, now that one's got to be marked. And then I'll put a pin between every single one of these. And one in here. And then I'll go to the left and I'll finish it up right here. And then when I'm totally finished, pull it up here, then what I'll do is I'll do my marks. Okay, and then as I sew it, I will keep it taut like that so that it will fit in there, the whole thing. So now both sides are done. Okay, so the way that I'm going to be putting this on this quilt specifically is I'm only going to do the 1/4 inch seam straight down here. You do not have to lock it in if you don't want to. It's going to be your call. This is the way I want to do this one. And then I'll get another piece of fabric here to show you the other. And then just iron it. And you can iron it to the right, the left, or open, whatever you want to do. That's the seam. These are my pretend 2 pieces that I'm going to show you how to do it the other direction. You're going to take your fabric, you're going to put your right sides together, and I overlap a little bit. Let me turn it this way so you can see it. A little bit on the end down here. If you want to be a perfectionist, you can put it right up to the end. It doesn't make a difference. But the reason I do this is so that you can see the corner. So I put my ruler corner to corner right here. You're putting it from that corner to this corner here on this fabric. Now, not this fabric down here, but this one up at the top. And you mark it with your friction pen, your pencil. It makes no difference. You won't see it. Then you, in my case, I would pin it, because you know I'm the person who pins everything. Take it over to the sewing machine. Then I'm going to sew it. It does not need to be locked into place. Oops. And go straight down that line to the other end. And when you open it, there is your binding. It looks like that. You take this piece here, you cut it off, either scissors or rotary cutter. Take a 1/4 inch, which is right there for me. Take that off. You can take it off the edge here if you want. Doesn't make a difference. That's just your overhang right there. You take it like this and you iron it. You can iron it to the right or the left. It makes no difference. And then you combine all of them like that, and that's how you're going to string them on the side of your quilt. But in my case, like I said, I'm going to use this method because this is what I want to use. Now, if you look at the directions, it says that we're going to use 2, this is number 4 here. We're going to use 2 of those 2.5 inch border strips, which is the red strips. And we're going to put one on the right side and one on the left side, and it's going to hang over a little bit. So it's going to hang over about this much on each side. And then we're going to sew it. Then we're going to use those last remaining 3. We'll sew them together to make the top and the bottom. So I'm going to sew 2 together, do 1, and then take the leftover and attach it to the 3rd piece and then do the other. So I'll probably do the top and then the bottom. But I'm going to do the right and the left sides right now, and I'm going to do them the same exact way that I did the white strips. They're just going on the right and the left-hand side. I pinned them on the same way and everything. Now I'm just going to sew them. Now here's the strip that we sewed on the last time when we combined them. I pinned this exactly the same way I pinned that. Now all I'm doing is going down here and just going to sew it. There's my little piece. Let me see if I can get off the table enough here. Make sure you can see it. There's a little piece I have hanging over. So I'm going to start off of the edge and then just start sewing onto it. And then if you want to, you need to mark all of your little spots there. And just slowly take your time. I'm going to do the same exact thing I did the last time. And you continue and do the right and the left side also. And then when I get ready to do the top and the bottom, I'll be back and talk to you about that. It's sewn on there. And now what you're going to do is you iron it flat and you cut off the edge just like before. And now we're going to put the strip down this direction. But keep in mind, now you have to sew 2 pieces together. You can sew all 3 of yours, but I'm going to do 2 of mine to start out with. Here we go. It's completed. And if you look and see, the second row is the only thing I changed on it. And it looks wonderful. I really, really like it. Thank you very much, Fort Worth Fabric Studios, for giving me the opportunity to show everybody how to make this on my YouTube channel. If y'all like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you for the next project they have, which I'm pretty sure will be shortly. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye-bye.